Alright, did another video for you guys just to show you some of the stuff that's been going on. Since the last one I did manage to actually pull the radio. I'll show you some detail on that in a short bit in the video. I just wanted to highlight this part because this is the part that most people are going to be scratching their heads at. The wiring harness. Right, you can see this with the yellow and the red wires here is the power block, as I guess we'll call it. Over here is, let me see, the dark blue, which is for powered antennas, the ones that lower and raise automatically. My car doesn't obviously have that, so we just use some electrical tape to just cap that off and not worry about it. That goes up to the side. This is the ground wire. Now, since the one that comes with the radio, which I can show you right here, already has this little clip on it, I decided I'm not going to try to splice that in. We're just going to see if I can manage to somehow affix this to something in the ground of the car somewhere, just to make sure that all the grounds lead to some form of ground. That should be enough. And then let me dig them out here. Come on. You look bad on camera here. Okay, here you've got your illumination and dimmer wire. Mine doesn't deal with that, so we capped that off. And then what the manual calls the amp remote wire, which I'm guessing basically is just a connection for an amplifier, but of course my car doesn't need that. Now you can see right here on the end of this, let me get this free here so I can get it closer and show you real good. It's these little closed cap crimp connectors. Saw a couple other people on YouTube using these, and I happen to already have the wire stripper / crimper right here, so I figured that'd be a good way to get this connected. Forgive me for the angle here, but let me just say, give a couple of tugs on that. That's clearly not going to be coming off. And it's not like these connections are going to be shaken all over the place, so it doesn't need anything really hard to anchor them. Now, you see, this is how the wires were done. You just take the wire from the factory connection, the unit that actually goes into your stereo, which is this little block here. And it'll have a bunch of these wires coming out that just terminate. We had to actually strip the end of the wires that came off of this. And then what you do is you just take your wire harness. You can even get these at Walmart if you want. You just need to make sure you get the one that is for your car and your model year. And it'll have this little connector with this other one. This happens to be a Ford. It'll have these two different connectors because some Fords have this one, some Fords have that one. And then the speaker block also has either one of these block connectors or the slot connector. And then these obviously will also have wires sticking out of them, but these ones thankfully were actually stripped ahead of time, and you can see the strip parts over here. And I have to admit, I wish that the company that makes radios, like, you know, Sony here, would actually strip the wires off of their connectors, because that was a real pain and a half to get done. Let's just say, ooh, forgot about the light on that. Let's just say that this wire stripper is definitely not meant for wires this small. It was actually eating out the wires off the ends as well as the insulation trying to do it, so we kind of had to do it manually with teeth and such pulling to get the wires done. But anyway, all you really do is you basically just take the wire that comes out of the back of this, which is stripped, the wire that comes out of the back of the factory harness, which has already been stripped, and you take the ends, and in this, if you use these caps, here's how easy this is. You take the two wires, which are the same color, Obviously, since this is going to be new and your factory harness should be new, the colors should be nice and bright and match up fine. And you take the two wires, and you take the two metal ends and you just kind of twist them together until you get a nice little braid that, if I can get a hold of one of these, you might possibly be able to see a little bit of it sticking out there, but yeah, it's only going to be about as long as that metal piece inside there and a little bit. It's not going to be a whole lot, but you don't need a lot. Get the two wires close together and push that up through here, and then take your crimper, which just happens to be this portion here was good enough for it, and just crimp it down. As I did it, I hit it right here near the bottom, and then I moved up so far and did it a second time to make sure there's a good solid connection there. And you just do that, matching color to color for all of your speaker wires and all of your power wires. Now, these other ones that I capped off individually like this, some cases you might use them, some cases you don't. I mean, as an example, this striped blue cable, which was that amp remote one I described. If you come to look over here, the radio here actually does have a wire for that. If I can get that focused on it. But see, in this case, I also know that I don't have an amp already, and that wire's not going to have anything to do with the factory wires that are in the car, so there was no point to actually leave that uncapped. I can just cut this, if I keep hold of this wire, I just cut this cap off the end here and wire both of these wires into something if I ever actually do an amp. So that's that. Oh, the radio. There is a faceplate that snaps onto the front of this. It's literally just little snaps. You just pulled the thing right off. Just kind of snap the thing, working your fingers around the edges and just pop it right off. And then this piece was on like this. Now what happens is this little piece here is actually bent in, and it's hooked onto something. I think these two little square holes here. And what you do is you take these little metal tools that the radio does come with, and with this other cover on here already, there's a little slot right here on the edge. You just push the tool in there, and the tool just lifts that up just a little bit, so you can then take this whole metal piece here and just slide it straight back off the radio. In case you're wondering, yeah, I realize I should have had this part set up before I started recording, but yeah, that's okay. Let me try to get this at an angle that the light on my phone is not going to drown out too much, but that's the radio that I happen to be installing right now. It's the Sony MEX-BT3100P Bluetooth car stereo. Just in case you want to know exactly which one I'm doing so that it's easier to figure this all out. But anyway, now this video is getting kind of long, so we've got to get into things here. This metal piece, you can see these little kind of teeth here. What you do, and yes, I will try to show this on video, probably in a part 2 here. Well, okay, actually that'd be part 3 by this point, but excuse me. This will just slide into the dash hole for the radio. I'll show you that in a minute. And then what you do is you just take like a screwdriver or some other sturdy object, and you just find any of these pins that are over holes already in the slot, and you just, stay still. You just push these out into those holes just to hold this in place, because that little fin design there is how the radio locks in. And then that way, if you ever want to get it out, you just take your faceplate out. You see this is one of those ones with a removable faceplate, and then you can pop this little face piece off, and you should be able to just slip your keys right in there, and they'll actually undo that and also lock a little bit so you can actually pull the radio free. And then at that point you just disconnect your cables, undo these little things, and you can remove the whole thing from the car if you want. And that's the reason for this wire harness. I strongly suggest anyone that's putting an aftermarket stereo into a car that's currently running the factory units, get these. What this basically does is, you see this little bit here with the crimp caps and everything. I did all of that. This only would actually take somebody probably 10 minutes or so if they applied themselves. I've been lazing around and not doing it very fast. But you get all these done. You see this connector, in the case of my Ford Tempo GL, this connector, and then this one will plug onto the factory cables. There's little plug cables that the factory stereo was using as well. These will fit right onto. And then this unit here goes in the back of the stereo. Now see, when you get that done, let's say you need to undo the installation and put the radio back in because you're selling the car, or let's say you're trying to replace this radio with a different one when it decides to break or something. Doing it this way means all you have to do is slide that radio out with those little keys like I explained, undo these connections, and then either cut all of these off to remove this side so that you can put a different one onto this wire harness when you get a different radio, or get rid of this whole piece here and get something similar to this for the next radio or something. But it makes it so much easier when you need to back up what you're doing, or when you're swapping to another radio or something. There's no desoldering of wires right in the dash of the car or anything. Trust me, that's going to be a pain and a half. You want this setup where you can actually do, as you can clearly see from the bed that this has all been sitting on, you can do all your wiring and such right here in your house somewhere. You don't even have to be near the car. So you have plenty of space and plenty of time and everything to get your tools out and do it right. I mean, obviously I'm going to take all these and kind of tie the wires together so they're nice little bundles instead of this big mess like you're seeing here. And I'll show you what that looks like once I've actually got it done and I'm starting to put everything in the car. But it makes everything so much easier to do because you've got this nice setup right here where you can tell where everything is and have the time to really examine each wire and know exactly which one is the positive wire and your negative wire. I'm pretty sure the stripe was the negative. Yeah, stripes are the negative. But, see, it's real easy to twist these around in a light and such, and you can very clearly see that stripe on that gray cable there. Yeah, that would not be so easy to see if you're in the car. Or heck, let me get out the purple ones. This one is a really good example because you can clearly see that stripe on the left there. That upper stripe, right? Now look at the cable that this comes to from the radio. That stripe is really hard to see without this light from my phone flashing on it. I had to actually pull out this phone and flash the light on it to be able to see that stripe. I can guarantee you if you were sitting inside of a car, that stripe would have been impossible to see. I mean, it is very... I don't know why Sony did that, but that one is so dark. It's not exactly as bad as putting like a black stripe on a dark gray, nearly black cable, but it's still pretty damn bad. They really should not have done the design like that. But again, perfect example of why it's better to do this inside of a house. Now when you're doing the wiring, yes, you could actually, oh gosh, that doesn't focus, use a guide like this that comes with the wiring harness to actually tell which wires are which ones and the different kinds of connectors. But honestly, you really shouldn't need this unless there's some kind of a special setup with your car, with the exception of right up here, as you can see, it's showing you like the amp remote, the power antenna and such, what these wires in this power one go to. This, you might need that to be able to tell which ones you're not going to use. But other than that, once you've got it down to just which wires you know are not going to something that's in your car, it's just a matter of matching a color with the exact same color on the other end and getting the wires together and crimping them off. And it could not be easier than this, really. And now that I've done this, the connector in the car is only going to go in these things one way, so I don't even have to worry about what colors are in the factory wiring in the car, because this has already got everything all set up like that. That's what's so beautiful about this. So yes, get these wire harnesses for the car before you install a radio. If you make the mistake of doing that, then you find out you have to back everything up and go, oh yeah, that one guy said we should have gotten that harness, oh now I'm screwed. Guess what? I'm going to be in the corner laughing. Okay, I think it's about time to go ahead and start cleaning all this up now that I got good shots of everything and setting up to actually get this stuff into the car. So I'll talk to you guys again in a little bit. Thanks for watching.